cheese it up and be like, action. Go for
Cool.
it. Today we've got Leana Dickerman on the show, episode 43, and this should be an interesting one. How are you today?
Let's hope so. I'm great. How are you guys?
Wonderful. Okay, so you said you got licensed in 2011, right?
Yes. Yep.
All right. So take a minute or two and just kind of give us some insight, like a brief overview, who you are, what you do.
Yep. So, Leana Dickerman, I have a team out of Keller Williams, Westchester, Greater Westchester. A small team. We work with buyers and sellers, but I personally specialize in working with sellers. I still do work with some buyers, repeat clients, and people that I know specifically. But really at this point, I'm focusing more on building our listing brand, where we have a very specific process for that.
Definitely want to dive in on the processes because it seems
Yeah.
like you have a lot of good ones in place, which I think, in my experience, that is one of the biggest hurdles that agents fall short on.
I totally agree.
Okay.
Seeing so many homes on the market,
Yeah.
I just look at them, and every single time I go through a listing, I'm like, wow, I would have suggested so many things,
Yeah.
done so many things differently, but
100%. Okay, so you said you work with buyers and sellers. Did you start building the seller stuff, or were you buyers initially?
yeah, so I started as a buyer's agent on a team. It was my mom's team that my sister took over, so I was on the team for several years. I actually started prior to working with clients. I was our listing marketing coordinator, so I worked directly with sellers on the back end, and then became our team's ISA, where inside sales agent, where I was calling leads and setting appointments for agents on the team. And then once I got pretty good at that, I became an agent myself. But yes, started as a buyer's agent, primarily really built my sphere in working. I was 21 when I got licensed, or maybe still 20, it was before I turned 21. So just started personally marketing and just, daily posting tidbits, because I didn't have any listings of my own. So I would either post our team's listings, or I would run numbers on different properties, kind of targeting my own age, and say hey, this house was 0% down, this is what your payment would be, so you should buy rather than rent, and that kind of thing. But really focused on bringing in the business from a lot of people that I went to high school with and that I personally know. So that's really how I started.
How did that go initially? Obviously you kind of had to be relentless doing it, right? And
I was very annoying.
How did you, from when you started to when you started, I guess, getting traction, what things did you tweak? Where did you say okay, I tried this, it didn't work, and then this did work, so then you kept up doing more and
Yeah, no, great question. Truthfully, I just kept adding more to what I was doing. So I realized that this was, again, close to 15 years ago, before social media was really big. And so I would go through and friend requests people that I went to high school with that I didn't even necessarily ever have a conversation with, but I saw them, familiar faces, that kind of thing. I just wanted to be in front of as many people as possible. So I made sure to post something daily, whether it was, a sold post, a new listing, sharing facts with, reach out to me if you have questions, right? Because a lot of times even if it's not your listing, if you're posting something real estate related, the average consumer is going to assume that it is your listing, and they're going to be like, wow, this person's really busy. And then I would do direct outreach, so I would friend request, and I had no problems sending people a message and saying hey, I know that you know someone who's looking to buy or sell, can you help me out? Or, our team's having a competition on who can get the most referrals in the next 6 weeks, I know you can help me out, kind of thing.
You were kind of just fearless in that department.
Yeah, I'm super passionate about it, and I wanted to help others. And after being in the business for a short time, I realized all agents are not created equal, and you can have someone that's been in the business for 30 years, but they sold, 0 homes last year. And I was doing this full time, all day, every day. Absolutely loved it. Super passionate about it. Still am. And just wanted to make sure that, especially people my age, had someone that they could relate to and that they trusted and that was willing to put in the work to get them to meet, their real estate goals ultimately.
We have a lot of people we work with, and one of the biggest issues we find that they run into is that they're so worried about this is stupid or I look stupid, and they just never do it, right?
Yes.
Did you run into that?
Absolutely. I think everyone has those fears, but I was hungrier than my fears would allow me to prevent it or to not do it. Yeah, I wanted it so badly, and I saw that the income is also limitless, and I loved that. Being 20 years old and realizing that as hard as I work is how much money I'll make.
One thing I see a lot of the younger, hungry ones, and then other people that are just trying to get off the ground, is they'll go do videos themselves of other people's listings.
Yes.
Right? And when I had my license, I was like, oh. They didn't have all the stuff that they do now with social media,
Right.
but we had Facebook, right? So I would go and I'd pull like from the IDX or whatever some listing, and I was like, oh, but agents would rip your head off if they saw that stuff back then, and it's like there was nothing. I mean, technically, as long as you said listed by whoever,
Right.
you're not breaking any rules, but they hated it. Now, there's some agents that still have, the older agents still have an issue with it, but
Which
it
is so
seems to
bizarre.
be more acceptable now. And you see a lot of the younger agents starting, and we have one that's in this building that does pretty good job with it. And yeah, he's starting to get some fire. What would you have done based on today's content versus what you were doing when you started? Where would you have changed it?
I mean, I'm so grateful that I started when I did, because now it's so much harder to stay relevant because everyone's doing it. 1,000%, I would be going out to and targeting luxury listings. First of all, they're beautiful. Who doesn't want to look at those videos? And again, a lot of people, even if you write on there because you have to, listing courtesy of X person, a lot of people aren't reading that and they are assuming it's your listing. So in order to stay relevant, you have to. You can't just wait for the leads to come in. You have to look important. You have to be important. You have to add that value. But I still tell everyone, my recommendation is back to the basics. Reach out to people, follow people, friend request them, message them directly, because I always say, even if you message someone and they read it and don't respond, a lot of people assume that if you are friends with them or you follow each other on social media, that they're seeing everything that you post. And with algorithms, that's not at all the case. You have to be looking at their things, liking their things, commenting on their things. So message them directly. Even if they see your message and don't respond to it, at least hopefully you change the algorithm and they're going to start seeing your stuff. And or if they weren't seeing your things before and they're still not going to see their things, at least now they know you're a realtor. Because so many people have this thought that, oh, they probably already know a realtor. So many people don't. I'm mind blown being, half the age or less than so many of my clients, that, especially if they're reaching out to me to sell as a referral from another client, my thought is, I wonder what happened to the agent that they bought this house with. Did they just not stay in touch? Are they no longer relevant? Use social media as the best tool to get in touch with people, because back in the day, before my time, it was not nearly as easy. I can't imagine driving around with a map to show homes.
But what I think hasn't changed is the fact that you have to get off your ass.
Oh, 1,000%.
And so many people are just like, I'll I'll take it when it comes, and it just doesn't. It's not going to.
No.
You eat what you kill, and I think people get mesmerized by the big paychecks, but it's like it's volunteer work until you get to the settlement table.
1,000%.
I'm sure you have a system for this. Let's talk about staying in touch with past clients.
Yeah. So we, we certainly have newsletters and things like that. We try not to bog our clients down with like junk email too often. We're very active on social media. So Allie on our team is my listing partner. She's our listing marketing coordinator and does all of our event planning and social media. So we have 2 big client events every year. We have a free fall photos photo shoot where our clients meet us at, typically we do it at Springton Manor Farm, and hire a handful of photographers to come. And they, everyone has like a 15-minute photo shoot with a photographer. They can bring their extended family. They can, invite whoever to get photos with. And we do it in the last week of October. So it's still like very pretty out. And a lot of people use the photos for their holiday cards and things like that, or just to have, yearly photos with their family. That's a big one. We love doing it. We bring like a little bit of alcohol to get them warmed up, and speakers to play music for the kids if they're crying and things like that. And then first weekend in December, we do a free Santa photos event. So it's like a holiday event.
Are you able to keep those things with the photos, with the family photos and all that? Are you able to keep that going, or do you find that there is after so many years, there's a drop off because the kids are older? Because I have a client that was doing something similar, and he ran into that issue.
Yeah, no, we have just grown every year, and because we invite everyone. We don't just invite like the people that bought or sold with us this year. We invite our entire database. So I think that we've had families that have come certain years and then not come one year, and then they come back, but usually we're like, oh my gosh, we missed you. Or if we see them at our Santa event, we'll be like, oh, we missed you at fall photos, and they're like, I know, we had a wedding that weekend, we were so mad. So we haven't quite run into that yet, but we also have couples that are in their 60s that just the 2 of them come, whether or not they have kids. We also have clients that are in their 60s or 70s, and we didn't work with their entire family, but they invite their kids and their grandkids, so they have a giant photo shoot.
So
people bring their dogs. Yeah, so it's really not, I would say, with this, and that's the reason that we do 2 events, is because with the Santa event, certainly, once their kids are a certain age, I feel like it's going to be rare that they're going to still come.
Weird.
Yeah, unless, but we have also had 2 grandmothers get in a picture together, just the 2 of them with Santa. But that is why we do 2 events. And I think, we'll eventually expand and do more. But I think when I think about client events and staying in touch, because, people do client happy hours and things like that. But if I'm thinking about myself, I'm not going to go to a happy hour when I have to plan that, be there at a certain day and time, where if I wanted to grab a drink on the way home, I would personally probably just go home and have a drink, but
Right.
I'm not going to go out of my way to go somewhere to get a free drink, if that makes sense. So I wanted to be providing a service, and something that they could keep and save, and that look forward to every year.
I saw a video that somebody put out, and they said closing gifts are a waste of time and money.
Oh,
Do you agree?
no. I totally disagree. When it comes, I just think it's such an exciting, I think it depends on the closing gift, but I think it's such an exciting day for the client, and they've already had such a great experience that it's kind of like the nail in the coffin. They're like, wow, you just really took it home. We weren't even, because I don't think clients are ever expecting a settlement gift.
Right.
But for buyers, we always give them a fresh welcome mat for their front door, because they go home and boom, there's a fresh welcome mat right there. We do give some sort of bottle of alcohol, typically champagne, and then we do the Cutco knife set. Just because, truthfully, we were gifted a Cutco knife set, and they are our favorite knives. Like, they are literally the best knives ever. And so rather than, taking the knives out of our block every time, we like keep them in the drawer and like literally pull them out every day because they're amazing. And that way you can put your logo on something and they'll remember you.
Yeah, I think the perishable stuff is, I could see that being less valuable, but the Cutco knives less.
For sure. Yeah. And then with sellers, we give them, depending on the situation, not every seller, but if it's a house that they love and they're going to miss and they had memories in, then we do like a watercolor painting of their house that just says like lots of love and memories made here with the year that they bought it on there.
Okay. Now, out of all of that stuff, all sounds great. Is success that you find from doing that, is it like the overall combination of things, or do you find certain items on the list produce better results?
I think it's hard to say. I don't think that settlement gifts are bringing business back that we wouldn't otherwise get. Like, I just think it's an added touch that people appreciate.
Okay.
1000% staying in touch with your clients.
Yeah.
So, if someone has a baby, if someone gets married, we send them a gift, and like, so that they know that we see them and we're thinking about them. Anniversary cards for the 1 year after they bought. And then just generally staying in touch with that, like making sure we have everyone on social media, making sure we invite everyone to our events.
How do you go about, especially, well, maybe not especially, but I know with older people who maybe aren't as active on social media, right? Maybe aren't, or maybe they're on different platforms you don't maybe know unless you ask. How do you go about getting them to follow you and connect on social media? Is it just you putting in the effort of finding them, or are you asking them in a way to?
So we always find, like, sometimes if we don't follow them prior to closing, we will try to find them like at closing, because sometimes people, it's not their first and last name, so they're not easy to find. But, if they're not super active on social media, we can't help that, but we do, like, they're on our email list. Like, and there will, over the course of time, we do need to, I will say, we can always be better about staying in touch with people, calling them. For our events, we do a phone call to, and, rather than calling, I don't know how many people are in our database.
Not enough.
Yeah. It makes it seem as though their phone rings. But it just leaves a voicemail.
Yeah, I know.
So, and, it's just like, hey, just wanted to make sure you got our emails and our postcard. We send mailers as well for our events. We send like a big jumbo laminated postcard for both events that they can RSVP on, and then to say to, look for following emails and things like that. So I do think and hope that they get those and receive them. We also send quarterly postcards, sometimes monthly postcards, depends on how busy we are. Like just sold postcards of all of our closings for that quarter, just to like stay in front of them.
So you're not just sending like the picture of the team and saying, hey, if you're thinking about buying, you're actually there's a little more strategy behind what you're sending out.
Yeah, we send that. It's literally like, these are all the homes that we have sold this quarter, so that they know that we're still selling, we're still here, we still remember you. And also just so, like, sometimes people are just curious to see what the house is. And
now, you talked about phone calls, like for events and things like that. Is it in the strategy or the system to just every once in a while just reach out and say, hey, how's life, that kind of thing?
We do our absolute best to do that. We, again, need to be better.
Yeah.
We, like, every year I'm like, we are going to call everyone, because truthfully, I guarantee if we set aside time for like 2 hours a week to do that, and there's 4 of us on the team, so we can do that, right? I guarantee we would have a lot more business than we do. I think that is probably the number one way to get business, is to pick up the phone and call people.
If you do that, and like there's in the times that it does happen, what is that phone call like for you? Like, how do you approach that?
Just honestly calling to check in. Like, hey, want to see how you're doing? Like, anything new with your family? How's the house going? Are you guys working on any projects? Like, are you still loving it? Because people will absolutely, like, you're the realtor calling them. They'll say, actually, we are thinking of selling in the next year or 2, or in the next 6 months.
They'll bring it up for you.
Because I always want to come from contribution and not just like, hey, I need something from you. Like, I would much rather call them to genuinely check in and see how they're doing than call them and say, like, hey, are you looking to buy or sell? When it comes to a client that we've already worked with.
Yeah.
If it comes to reaching out to other people that I've never worked with before, like, I'm bold, and I will always say, like, hey, I always will start a message with, like, hey, love to see your posts, or congrats on the engagement, or congrats on, the new baby, or whatever it is.
And I guess that translates. So if you're doing your part with content and things that you're putting out, and all the touches that you have that are not directly in your face, like buy and sell houses with me, but like,
Yes.
I'm a realtor,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do those things, then it kind of, their association with you is that you're a realtor.
Exactly.
But a realtor they like, so that when the time comes. Right?
Yeah, and with our social media marketing, at least, like videos and things like that, like, we have a blast every day. Like, we're always cracking up. We always say, like, we need to write a book, because we're, like, crying, laughing almost daily about just, like, ridiculous things that we encounter. So we try to be, like, relatable and funny, and even more recently, like, we do a lot of video marketing at my house, and, like, I constantly in my head am like, oh, like, I've got to straighten up, or before we do this, and, I will be like, no, you don't. Like, people will appreciate it more if we are relatable. Like, if there's Amazon boxes sitting out, or if your kids' clothes and toys or whatever, because
That's real.
that is real, and that's what people want to see. Like, nothing is always perfect. So I think that, like, being relatable, being funny, that people want to work with someone that they like as a person. Not if they want to work with a great realtor, but if they can find a great realtor that they're also drawn to as a human being, I think that is key.
100%. Whose idea was it for the one that you guys did, where you were walking around like somebody was giving a tour, and over here are the people that haven't used us to buy us?
Allie, she's behind everything. She finds all the reels that she wants us to do. She comes up with all the ideas.
That one, every time I see somebody do that one, it cracks me up.
It's so funny.
Yeah, and you guys like nailed it.
With, like, the clipboard, Grace really killed that one.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Let's dive into sellers for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, what type of sellers do you go after, and what type of sellers seem to be attracted to you?
That's a great question. I truthfully do not spend a lot of time, like, targeting and cold calling, so I wouldn't say I go after certain sellers. We're mostly a referral-based business, so we work with all sellers in any price range, I would say within an hour or so of here. And our perfect client would be someone that is open to feedback and who's honest with us. So, like, when they say, we did everything on the list and the house is ready, or if they say, we're not doing X, Y, and Z, but we're doing these things, like that, the house is ready, and then we can trust them that they did the items. And either way, like, with all of our clients, we are very detailed in our staging recommendations. Like, we'll come in and say, hey, if you do nothing at all, this is what we would recommend listing your house at. Or if you do the following list of recommendations, we do, like, a bulleted room by room list of every single thing that we recommend, from, painting, light fixtures, furniture placement, decluttering, remove this off the back of the toilet. Very detailed. And if you do all of these items, this is what we would recommend listing at. And we will get them pricing from our contractor to do those items, so that rather than just saying like, hey, do all of these things, we say, hey, if you do all of these things, this is about how much it will cost. And this is what we would recommend listing at if you do those things. So if you do nothing at all, we recommend listing at 600. And if you do this following list of items, that's going to cost $8,000, we would recommend listing at 650. So they can see that it's already an immediate, massive return on investment, because we know that real estate is really the only investment that you can put money into like that and get that much of a return out of it quickly.
With that plan, because I know plans don't always go according to how you want them. How often do you get pushback that said, I still want the 650, but I don't want to do what you want to do? And how do you guys deal with that? Do you say, okay, we'll try it for X amount of time and then you're going to list our price, or do you walk away from them?
No, I don't ever walk away. I'm a very like, hey, here's our recommendations. So the ball's in your court. I should say, I have not had to walk away from a seller. Sure, if someone, if we're just way off on price and they want to list something, $100,000 or $200,000 higher than it's worth, I would probably say something to them like, we pride ourselves on our statistics and, getting sellers the most amount of money in the quickest amount of time on the market, and explain to them why, by overpricing our home, we're essentially shooting ourselves in the foot, because we only have one time to make a first impression. If we're massively overpriced, especially being in this market, buyers aren't even going to come look at the home, because a lot of buyers don't know values that well. They are just assuming that anything that goes on the market is going to sell quickly with multiple offers. So if it's out of their price range, or if it's higher than they think it should be, they're not even going to go see it. Yeah. So, if we overprice to begin with, then we're chasing the price down. And if a home has been on the market for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in this market, people automatically assume there must be something wrong with it, even if they're not realizing, it was originally listed $50,000 higher. Yeah. Like I just had someone send me a property yesterday. Price was just reduced $50,000 within a week of being on the market. And they were like, can you reach out to find out if there's something wrong with the house? And truthfully, it was probably just overpriced to begin with. And the agent, had agreed with the seller that if we don't have any activity or interest within the first week, we're going to reduce it to this price as I recommended. But that's just what buyers assume.
Obviously, during COVID and the past handful of years, it's been nuts, right? And you're talking about pricing and pricing strategies, and I think it's calmed down and got more to like a market that we've known in the past. Not quite there yet, but it's getting there. But when you go in and say, hey, I want to list at this price, and in the in previous markets, you could have been, if you're good at what you do, you could be very close to damn right on the money, right? Mm-hmm. But people could almost pull a number out of their butts, and a lot of them will get it. How can you tell a seller that their number's crazy without proving it to them when the market was like that?
If they're wanting a much higher number, I am just showing them the facts. I'm showing them the other homes that are similar to theirs within the same township, school district, 2-mile, 3-mile radius. Unique homes are easier to test the price, because if there's nothing similar to those homes that have sold, you're more so going off of acreage, square footage, that kind of thing, and certainly location. But I'm just putting the facts in front of them so that they can choose, is our goal to get the highest price and the best terms, because it's a proven fact that in order to do that, you price it well. You don't need to price it low. You price it well and where it needs to be, because as soon as you can bring in even just 2 offers instead of 1, you then have the leverage of getting the highest price and the best terms, with buyers waiving contingencies and offering well over the list price, because the other offer does not know what the other offers in hand are. So they just have to give it their best shot. So I allow them to make the decision on, is that most important?
Do you kind of guide them through like what their actual goals are, and then how does it align with what they're saying?
Right. Well, yeah, and what do they want? Like, if they would rather test the price and see what kind of activity we get first, knowing that typically the best strategy is to price it well, to bring in multiple offers. If they'd still rather test the higher price, then I'm more than willing to do that. It's their house, they're in control.
What's the cutoff as far as time in this market for, like, hey, we're going to start getting those crappy offers because we've been on the market this long?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'd like to say 2 or 3 weeks. It gets to a time where buyers don't feel insecure about offering lower than the list price. And at the same time, usually around that time, sellers are thinking about reducing.
Understand and agree, basically. But did you just give me that answer as somebody who might be sitting in a listing appointment, or if that's where you were approaching that from, put on your buyer's agent hat.
Yeah.
When would you start lowballing? Not lowballing, but you know what I mean.
So if a house is overpriced, I encourage buyers to go in right away. I don't encourage buyers to wait, because you never know. Because it depends on the listing agent. If it's an agent that you know prices their listings well, it's going to sell quickly with multiple offers, that's a different situation. If you know that it's priced well, if the agent doesn't have much experience, or that agent is known for overpricing listings, in that case, I say any offer is better than no offers at all. And I say this to buyers and I say this to sellers. Maybe they knew that they were pricing high. I think it's all about the way that you present the offer. Like, hey, my clients love this home. This is their price range. This is where they're at. Rather than not offering at all, we wanted to still bring an offer because they love the home. So, we certainly would hope that you don't take offense to it. I will certainly back up an offer with comps, or even ask a listing agent, like, if they counter us and they're like, no, there's no wiggle room here, like, this is the price that we feel like we should get, I will ask them to share with me the comps that they're looking at. Ultimately to try to come to some sort of a resolution.
My take on the market right now is that if you're bringing really good product to market, it's still very close to what it's been in the last handful of years.
Absolutely.
I've seen 6 figures over ask in the last week.
Yeah.
But if you're bringing average or not really prepped properly for the market homes and things like that, that's where it seems it's like with those two categories. The high end stuff doesn't even necessarily be high end. If it's in the right location and it's a great home, it's still moving. But the other stuff, that stuff seems like it's in its own market that seems like pre-COVID normal stuff.
Yes. 100%. Yeah, anything that's priced well and that shows well, that's clean, is every single time selling very quickly with multiple offers still in this market.
How do you go about, I don't know if it would be the initial consultation with a potential seller, but after you get going and you're talking about, this is what we're dealing with in this market, this is what you should expect, if, this is the game plan, how do you go about taking a seller through that, setting expectations and that kind of thing?
So a lot of times sellers will ask us questions about what the market is like now. And when I'm discussing pricing with them, that's kind of when it comes up, because I'll go over comps with them and say, based on these homes, this is where I would recommend pricing if you do all of the things that we recommend. And I always say that, because this is not if you do nothing at all. It would be very rare. Even in, we just listed a house last week that they didn't have anything major to do, and the house looked great. Could we have just scheduled photos for 2 days later? Yes, but there's still decluttering, rearranging of furniture. There's still always things that you can do to make it look much better. And if your house already does look great to begin with, doing these extra items is just even that much more beneficial. Like, I think a lot of people think, like, oh, my house is already updated, my house is already clean, like, we're good and we're ready to go. But it just makes their jobs easier and their list shorter, but there typically still are lots of things to do. So when discussing the market with them, it's all when, you know, when we're talking about pricing and the fact that even if your house does already show well, there are things that we can do to make it look better in photos, because photos specifically always look more cluttered than they do. And we show them examples. Like, we have a pre-list packet that we send them in the mail before the appointment, and in that we have before and after examples that show, like, in a photo, like, this house looks nice, but how much nicer does it look after they've done these things? Because the pictures are what are going to bring buyers in.
It's first impression.
Yeah.
You talked about people wanting to work with people that they like and relate to, right? So let's say a seller is talking with a bunch of agents. They like this agent. Could be a great agent. They don't know yet. What are 3 questions that if they ask nothing else that they should ask this agent?
Yeah.
Or any agent they would work with?
Great question. How many homes have you sold in the past year?
Why?
I think a lot of consumers and agents themselves have this misconception that your number of years in the business is the most important aspect of your, like, they feel as though if they have 30 years of experience, that means that they are a better agent than someone who has 5 years of experience. And I would argue that that is not at all the case. Because if there can be an agent that's been in the business for 30 years, but they've sold 5 homes in the past 10 years, or 5 homes in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And there can be an agent that's been in the business for 5 years that has sold 70 homes a year in the past 3 years. So I would say an agent who has sold 25 homes in 30 years is far less experienced than an agent who has sold 200 plus homes in the past 3 years. Because your experience comes from buying and selling, working with buyers and sellers daily.
Yep.
And facilitating and helping them with, you know, objections and choosing an offer and going on the market. How many agents don't understand the contract and what certain terms mean, and how many agents will argue? Like, for example, we have plenty of buyers that are getting a mortgage, but we know that a lot of buyers are up against cash buyers. So if we're working with someone that's in their 30s who doesn't have $800,000 cash to buy a home, that's very normal for that age range. But if they're very secure in their jobs and they're very confident and they're pre-approved with our preferred lender, and we're super confident in our preferred lender, and they're confident that they're not going to lose their jobs in the next 30 days before closing, a lot of our clients are waiving the mortgage contingency to have their offer accepted, so that their offer appears as strong as a cash offer. Because the only thing about a cash offer that's desirable is that there's no financing contingency. Meaning, if the buyers lose their job a week before closing, that buyer with a financing contingency would get out of the contract and they would get their deposit back. I argue that a buyer that's obtaining financing and waiving the mortgage contingency is arguably a stronger buyer and less likely to walk away from the deal than a buyer that is a true cash buyer. Because a buyer that's obtaining financing for an $800,000 house, and maybe they have a $50,000 deposit on the house, that $50,000 deposit is worth a lot more to a buyer that has $70,000 or $100,000 in the bank than a buyer who has $900,000 in the bank. Either buyer would lose their deposit if they did not purchase the home due to financing reasons.
Right.
Just because a cash buyer has cash in the bank at the time that they submit the offer and provide their proof of funds, does not guarantee that they're not going to spend their money on something else in the meantime. And also does not guarantee that there's not going to be a house that they love more that pops up a week before closing that they're willing to walk away from their $50,000 deposit over.
How can you combat that? Let's say you like the cash offer. What do you ask of them to lock them in further?
I mean, if there's two offers and they're both the same and one is true cash and one is waiving the mortgage contingency and they're identical offers, I typically would encourage the sellers to go back to both. Like say we had 10 offers and we are narrowing it down to these two. I would, if there's two offers that are so similar that it's hard to make a decision, we typically go back and just say like, hey, the seller wanted to come back to see if there's any revisions that, either party wants to make their decision easier.
But if let's say the only difference is the financing or cash, but you're saying that the financing option is, there's more skin in the game, I guess is kind of what you're saying. For that buyer, what can you ask of the other buyer, the cash buyer, that might make them more committed or be perceived as more committed?
Sure. I mean, you could ask for more deposit money. You could ask for a higher price. There's multiple different, there's so many different terms in the contract. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where two offers were exactly identical. In most cases where we go back to ask for change, like for example, I was recently in a situation where we had a cash offer that was, I want to say like $18,000 lower than an offer that was obtaining financing. And this offer was not waiving the mortgage contingency. They were obtaining financing and not waiving the mortgage contingency. So the sellers were really leaning towards the cash offer. And this was, not a high price point. This was we listed it at $265. I think the cash offer was $275 and the financing offer was like $290. No, it was like $290 paying transfer tax, so it was really like $293.
Yeah.
So I think $18,000 higher, and I encourage them to go with the higher offer as long as we could get an appraisal waiver.
So really, I mean, overall, what you're saying is, experience is current experience too.
Oh, absolutely. In this current market.
Yeah. Is super important.
And knowing the contract and how to read the contract and what terms mean. Like so many agents still don't understand how the price escalation works, which is like baffling to me.
I had a client ask me about something he did with an escalation clause, and he didn't understand how it worked. And I'm like, well, I guess your client's happy because I guess they're under contract, but yeah, you did. I'm pretty sure you lost them some money in that deal.
Right.
But people don't. Do you know who's? I think his name David Burchard is. He's a Remax. I don't know. Honestly, he used to own one of the Remaxes up in the main line, and he was doing when I got my license at when we were at Suburban West. They, like the new agent initiation thing, like orientation. He was talking about the agreement of sale, and he was very blunt about it, and he said, the moment you don't respect this document, you're fucked.
Yeah.
That's what he came out and told me. And I honestly thought the contract, not the paperwork overall, but the contract was one of my favorite things about doing it. I think I would have been a lawyer in another life. But it's not complicated, and I think Pennsylvania has one of the best contracts around. And it's designed to protect the consumer, and I think people just don't read the damn thing.
No.
And it's like, and then some agents, it's like, I've heard some agents try to explain to somebody, I'm like, I can't believe you signed that after that, what that person
That explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Sometimes I wish that as a buyer's agent that I could present the offer to the seller directly.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like, and so many times when we're up against another offer, so many times when we waive the mortgage contingency, the agent, they just don't understand. Like, I just don't understand how you can waive the mortgage contingency when they have to get a mortgage. Like, you're not, if they're waiving the mortgage contingency, you need to provide proof of funds. And I'm like, no, we don't. They're still getting a mortgage, and they're not only waiving the mortgage contingency, they're also fully waiving appraisal, which means that the sale price on the contract is what they're paying regardless of what it appraises for. And they don't understand even what it means to waive appraisal. They'll be like, well, but the bank will have to do an appraisal. And I'm like, yes, I understand that, but my client is waiving it in the sense that regardless of what it appraises for, they're still paying that price. They will make up the difference, they will adjust their loan to value, and so many agents don't understand the contract. So, and the contract changes over time.
It does, but I mean, the heart of it's still there. I mean, it's you know, I had this one agent said, was telling me this story one time, that she was the buyer's agent, went in, buyers wanted this like fancy chandelier that they had in the foyer, and they said no, it's in the exclusions. It was like a family heirloom or something.
Right.
Well, she didn't write it in the contract, she typed it in. 2 lawyers and the agent missed it, and they got it.
So I had to leave it.
Yeah. And I, as much as you always look for like the points that are like filled in and stuff, you know the main spots, but I read every contract. She told me that, so I was like, not missing that.
Well, and now that they have like co-op compensation in the contract, like it's right next to the seller assist section. So every time I'm like, I'm just making sure this is not, because the seller assist amount is usually like if someone is asking for a seller assist, it's usually around 3% or whatever. So it's so common that, or an agent will put it in the wrong spot. Like an agent will put 3% under seller assist instead of under co-op agent compensation right above it. And I'm like, are you asking for a seller assist or are you asking for commission? And then if you put the commission in the agreement of sale, then you have to make sure that you do not get a co-op signed at a later date, because what's in the agreement of sale is technically in addition to whatever was agreed to on a co-op form.
Right.
It's a pain in the ass.
That was awesome. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we could keep going on, and that could go on forever. 2 more questions that a smart buyer would ask their agent.
What are your statistics, average days on market and average sale price in comparison to list price?
I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this one, but sometimes that's not necessarily in their control. They could have done everything to the best of their ability and done a good job, and those numbers might not be all that a bag of chips.
I would say, sure, sometimes is the key word there. I would say generally, and it also depends on the market, right? Like in a luxury market, like super high-end, multi-millions, those homes do typically have longer days on market and a lower list to sale price ratio. I would say anything below 1.5, if you are, yes, there will always be sales that go for slightly below the list price for whatever reason. Maybe the seller wanted to test a higher price, maybe, the timing was not in your favor when you went on the market and there was several other options and the house just wasn't the best house on the block, whatever it may be. But I would say generally, if this agent is someone who's selling a lot of homes, that their statistics should be pretty good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
What kind of marketing do you do? Like, can I see some other homes that you've listed? The photos, do you hire a photographer? Do you give us any sort of recommendations to get it ready for the market? That kind of thing. Like, what value are you providing as an agent to us that maybe another agent wouldn't be offering? And I think it's also a great thing to, and maybe this is why you're asking, but if a seller is interviewing other agents, to be suggesting to that seller, make sure you're asking these questions.
I 100% agree, and yet there are still agents who will do basically nothing, and yet there are still sellers who will still hire these agents.
Yes.
What is on your list? Give me like the bullets of like your marketing plan.
Yeah, so we do like first and foremost, our getting ready for the market is our biggest.
The prep.
Is the number one thing. We have an amazing photographer, real estate photographer, I will say, because hiring the general photographer is not going to capture the best images and angles, as you know, of a house. We do videos on all of our listings. We do this definitely in the summer months, and sometimes elsewhere we do coming soon listings just to make sure we're capturing an audience over the course of 2 weeks in case there's people that are traveling, leaving town, coming back from town. And then social media marketing. So like new listing, coming soon posts, new listing posts, open houses. We always have like a very nice professional sign in the yard that is not, rusted and covered in dirt, bird poop and things like that. I think that's so important to, like, when you drive up to a house and there's just like a nice sign in the yard.
Social media push, I'm assuming.
Yep. All over social media, yeah.
Here's the thing. We work with a lot of agents. We've been doing this a long time. And when we started this business, real estate, professional photography, all that stuff was very much in its infancy. They were still putting listings in newspapers when we started this business. And over the years now, it's like the standard. Then there was like, okay, drone photography was kind of like a here and there, like not everybody did. Now it's borderline a standard.
Yeah.
Now in the past few years, what we've seen almost starting to become a standard is floor plans. All these different pieces that it's like, okay, yes, could you sell that house with your cell phone photos? Yes, you could. Could you sell them with just basic photos? Yes, you could. Right, especially in the past handful of years. But the thing is not only are you're telling your seller that your job is to get them the most amount of money, and barring special circumstances, your goal should be to get them the most exposure. Doing all of this stuff is going to accomplish that, right? But agents are always looking for to spend the least amount of money possible. And it's like, even our most expensive package, unless it's like a 10,000 square foot home, is probably like, it's gonna be like, you can get away with doing quite a bit for like $500, $600, $700.
Absolutely.
And then it's like, okay, you probably have a better commission split than I do. I'm quite sure you do. I was on like the new agent 65-35 when I started, right?
Okay.
And that basically translated in at 3%. Let's use that.
Yes.
That translated for about every $500,000 is about 10 grand. And they try to spend less than $200 on their marketing. And it's not only holding back from them, it's, in my opinion, in this day and age, works against their reputation. And you're not just, even if you do more than is necessary, you should be looking at it as like an investment in your business too. Because if you did a video and you
use
could
examples to show people.
Exactly. And I just don't understand it. Sorry,
No,
I'm going.
I don't either.
That drives me crazy.
And the other thing is, like, we're very strategic about which photos we use when we, not all, we just decided against drone shots on a listing because of the neighbor's yard.
Sure.
And for one listing, we did drone, another listing last month, we did drone shots because it was right next to Longwood Gardens. But the next, and they had a fully fenced in yard with a privacy fence and like mature trees and things like that. When we did the drone shots, the neighbors had like an old rusted boat and like all types of like so much shit in their yard. And we didn't even notice it from being at the house because the neighbor's front of their house is beautiful. So when we got these drone shots back, I'm like zooming in. I was like, we can't use these, but like, so we only strategically use certain photos because I was like, we do not want to advertise that that's what's in the next door neighbor's backyard. Another thing I will say is that so many agents mislist specifics of the house and including square footage. Like there will be a 3-bedroom house that has a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath house that has a big addition off the back, and Public Records has it as a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom with 1,400 square feet, and they did a 600 square foot addition off the back. So really the square footage should be adjusted. And the agent just like may or may not change it to 2.5 baths, but doesn't realize that this, what's in public records reflects like the square footage prior to the addition. So buyers are looking at that and thinking, oh, that house is too small. So many agents do that, or they won't list that it has a garage when it does. So the other thing about when you're choosing an agent, like you want a detail-oriented agent, because even on the buying side, you want them to make sure that they're looking through all of these listings. Like I have a client that says we have to have a 2-car garage, like it has to have one, it's a must-have. I don't put that into their search criteria on the back end, because I know that so many agents mislist a home and they don't put that it has a garage even when it does.
Yeah.
So if I put that it has to have a 2-car garage in the back end in that listing, even though it has a 2-car garage, just because it was mislisted by their agent, is not going to show up in my client search.
Well, I probably sounded like I was bitching a little bit, but like we're bringing up things that agents are doing or not doing, right? And it's not like one of the things we try to do with this podcast is not to like rip on agents.
No.
But these are things that agents should be ripped about. But this is to be like, hey, these are things you should be doing, and it's, I think one of the overall biggest, then I think it bleeds into a lot of the stuff we talked about, is that there's so many agents that are selling houses, not that many that are running businesses. And it's like they're like, okay, I'm with KW or whoever, and their mindset is that of an employee. They're that banner, and they're not. And they just don't operate that way. Like, you'll talk to them, like I just got off the phone with an agent, and we were supposed to do some social media content stuff with her, and she's like, oh, I'm going to the beach again. like, do you want it? And then comes to me and says, why? I have no business. Like, this is... But
if you have the business coming in,
you can go to the beach. You can play hard in a business that you're running on your own, but like you still have to, if you run it like a business, and it's just. So, with that said, what would be your best advice to help an agent that is either new or somebody who has been in the business and maybe isn't operating the right way? Like if you had to say, like, okay, if you're starting from scratch or you need to find out what's wrong with your business, what advice would you give to that agent?
Yeah, I would say reach out to agents that you look up to and that are doing the level of business that you want to do, and ask them to grab lunch or get together with them for an hour if they're willing to, and just pick their brain on everything that they do. Like go in with questions, look at all of the things that they're doing ahead of time, and like you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you will learn very quickly from being with a high-level agent over the course of an hour that they are very structured and detail-oriented, and that they have a plan, and that they have goals, and that they're not dropping the ball, and that they are working hard.
I have a feeling that if you were to take your own advice, you have somebody particular in mind.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's so many great agents here. I frequently bounce ideas off of my sister. She has she has a team that I used to be on, and she's just a very smart business owner. Out of my office, Mike Cianci is like, I always look up to him. He's like the nicest guy in the entire world. I don't know if that guy has a bad day, but I don't think you would ever know it if he did. He's just so professional, so kind. He's incredibly hardworking and systematic and thoughtful and a very smart agent. And he has a goal, and he absolutely crushes it. Like, we went to Tony Robbins a couple years ago together, and he told me his goals that year, and sure enough, like, he hit them that year. And I know that he has goals every year that he's trying to accomplish. and he just grows every year, and what he's doing is working, and he wins listings, and he has his target audience, Westchester Borough, has massively grown over the years. So he's just very smart, and he sticks to it, and he's not willing to spend money to make money. And he's just such a good human. So like, he is someone that, and he's more than willing to share. Like we used to get lunch like 2 to 4 times a year together, and would sit down for like an hour and a half, and he would not look at he would be on time, he would not look at his phone the entire time we were there, which is hard for realtors to do. And he makes you feel like you're the most important person ever during that time that you're meeting with him, and he's willing to share any information that you ask him. Like, I could be like, what is your listing presentation? And he'll be like, here it is, these are the things that I say. Like, I ask detailed questions. Like, I am a full picture. What are you doing to prep for the appointment? What are you bringing with you when you go to the appointment? What are you talking about? Like, when you arrive at the house, what are you doing first? Like, every single detail, and then I take from that what I love the most, and over the course of time tweak it. So like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can reach out to people that are doing what you want to do at a high level, and follow exactly what they're doing until you get good at it, and then you'll realize what you want to tweak to make it your own.
Yeah, you will see when you talk to, if you were to do that as an agent, you're going to see that those people are operating completely different than you are.
Yeah.
In most cases. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, Mike is so disciplined, super nice guy. We had him on, and he's impressive.
Yeah.
I saw an agent that was doing a social media video for herself walking down the street in Westchester. It wasn't even his video, and his signs in the background.
Oh my God.
Like, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's doing a good job. Okay, 3 quick questions, and then we'll wrap up. Best piece of advice you can give a buyer right now?
Your first home does not need to be your forever home. Buy a house. Start somewhere. With Pinterest and social media and all of these things, everyone wants everything to be perfect. And if you cannot afford that right now, then start somewhere rather than renting, because rent is equally as expensive. You're throwing so much money away by renting, and take advantage of the current market that has shifted a little bit, with plenty of listings that are overpriced, that you can get a seller assist to buy down your interest rate, and or to need less money out of pocket in order to buy. Like, start somewhere. Even if it's not your dream location, your dream house, you have to buy a starter home in order to afford your forever home.
I love that. All right, best piece of advice for a seller right now.
Make sure that you hire an agent that's going to give, that sells often and knows what buyers are looking for in this market, so that you can effectively get your house ready for the market and do the most important things. And also, don't do anything until you have an agent come through. So many sellers, think a quick Google search or Chat GPT, or maybe they just think that they know what's best to get their house ready for the market, and that is absolutely not the case. In cases like that, those are the listings that do sit on the market because they are not, maybe the paint colors that they chose are not what people are looking for, or fresh paint is fresh paint, but not everyone wants everything to be a certain color, or but even like bright white, you want to make sure someone that has that like staging and design background that's giving you.
I think what you said, that understands what buyers are looking for.
Yes, 100%.
Super important.
Yeah. So many times, like, I had someone yesterday say to me, we know that we want to replace our countertops before we sell. But we want you to take a look to see if there's any other bigger things that we should be doing as well. And I guarantee I will get there and be like, do not worry about doing the countertops. These all these other things are far more important. Like, so many sellers just have it in their mind that, like, we know we need to do this before we sell. And in most cases, it's like, no, you don't. Like, don't even worry about spending your money on that. Buyers won't even notice that if all these other things look how they want them to.
Absolutely. A bunch of stuff you can do, but if you're doing the wrong stuff,
you're wasting your time and money.
Leana, you are actually very impressive yourself. I know you were you started from scratch.
Yeah.
Took the bull by the horns, and it seems like you're doing pretty well. And you're also, I think, you come off like you have a great attitude, very positive. So I don't know if that's how it always is, but
I try to be.
Yep. And so the last thing, we ask every one of our guests to leave us with a positive message to the world.
Oh boy, I think it's so important. Like, we just flew back from Nashville. We were there for a wedding, and when you're in the airport on the way back, like ordered something to eat, and the person working there was just absolutely miserable. And I said to my fiance, like, I just can't imagine going to work miserable. Like working in a job that makes me miserable. So I just always feel so grateful that I have this opportunity to have a career and a business that I love so much, and working with people that I absolutely love, because working is what we do for so many years to make a living and for a majority of our day. And so make sure that you work with people that you want to work with and that you love to work with, and have a job that you genuinely enjoy. I certainly never thought that I would get into this business growing up. My mom is in real estate. She was a realtor when I was, or still is a realtor, but I think I was like an infant when she got into the business. And she was, I think she was about my age at the time, like 34, 35 when she got into the business. So I was lucky enough to get in much younger, but growing up I never thought that I would be in this business, just because it was very different back then, you know, like cell phones were not even existent, and, you know, it took a lot more time to find listings with no social media, no internet, any of that. And also teams were not as big back then. So, you know, she was traveling a lot and going to different conferences for trainings and things like that. So I never really felt like it was the kind of business that you could be in and still have like a good at-home family life. But luckily times have changed, and with having a team and leverage and internet, social media, all of that, cell phones, you know, it's a very different business. You know, my sister first got into the business, and I was very surprised by that. She went to college and got her degree and then was bartending, and then she saw what a great business it is to be in, and you know, followed it in my mom's footsteps. And at that time I was personally, you know, off the rails, and you know, struggling with addiction, and you know, in and out of jail and rehabs and things like that for years. So I had no clue what I was going to do, but I remember when I was like 5 months clean and had to fly myself home from Florida, where I was when I got clean that last time, and you know, I found out I had a warrant out for my arrest, and because I was out of state, even though I was getting clean, I had a warrant out. So they told me I had to fly back, and then I could like transfer my case, and so I sat there in jail for 3 months waiting to get out, and my sister and my mom came to visit me, and I remember my sister showed up just like buttoned up with like a blazer and like a collared shirt, and like just did not even have the time of day for me. Like, she was there for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then was like, all right, well, I gotta go. Like, I have an appointment I have to get to and, like, see ya. And I remember looking at her and just, like, thinking, like, that is what I want. Like, I want to have something. I want to, you know, be together and just be normal. And have a career that is so important to me, that and have a life that is so rewarding that I don't have time for these other people and like people that are sitting in jail and not doing the right thing. Like, because that in that moment it was so very different from what I was used to. And I know, like, I don't know if it sounds right because I'm her sister, and like she did have the time for me because she came to visit me, but I just remember, like, I vividly remember that day and thinking, like, wow, you're okay, like, you're already leaving, like, I haven't seen you in so long, and you have bigger and better things to get off to and do. And anything that set an example for me that, like, I want to no longer have the time of day for all these people that are my friends and were my friends that I'm sitting in jail with. And so I got out and, you know, I got my associate's degree, but I got my real estate license right away and was so lucky to have the opportunity to work for my mom and just, like, earn their trust again and build my way up into this incredible career that, you know, like, I feel like my addiction shifted from drugs to work and making money. And so, you know, if you can be in a career that just absolutely changes your life, that, and the only way that you can do that is if you love what you do. So I think my message would ultimately be, like, anybody can do anything regardless of where you came from and regardless of what your history looks like or what your, you know, criminal record looks like. And you can 1,000% change your life around and make your life everything that you want it to be, as long as you're a good person. So I would love for anyone who is struggling with addiction or struggling with anything at all to just, like, know that your life can be different. Like, when I see people in Kensington, like, I look at them and I think I don't think that they think that their life could be different, but I know that it can be different. Like, I know 100% that no matter how far they've gotten, that they can change their world around. So I think that's so important to. And I give kudos to my family for, like, giving me that confidence as well, because they listened to everything that they should have and did not, like, enable me or allow me to come home. Like, I got clean on the day before New Year's Eve, or the day before Christmas Eve in 2020. And, no, 2010, sorry. In 2010, and, like, that year was not invited to Thanksgiving, was not invited to Christmas, and I think it's so important that families that people who have a family member who struggles with addiction, I think it's so important not to enable and not to, like, let them know that you will 100% be there and support them when they're ready to change their life and turn it around and get clean. But I know so many people that have passed away and not had the best outcome because essentially their family was so afraid that they were going to die that they allowed them to do those things around them and under their roof, and it does not prevent them from dying. So just, you know, having the confidence and knowing that I could change my life because they believed that I could was huge.
That's quite the inspiring story, coming from there to here.
Yeah. I probably don't share it enough. I always feel guilty that like I feel like I should, like I feel like I need to like give back more. But I always have this like drunk monkey, if you will, that it has quieted over the years, but that, you know, like people would judge me for, or, you know, be like nervous to work with me or anything, like my kids finding out, that kind of thing. I have 4 kids, so I would just, you know, want them to know that it takes a lot of work to get your life together if you do end up on the wrong path, and not, it's not so easy for a lot of people.
But it can be done.
But it can be done, yeah. So there's a lot of fears around why I don't, you know, talk about it as much. And but
I think you present it in a good way.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
It was great.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That's it.
Cool.